Their first taste of freedom in 49 days. That's 1,176 hours of lockdown spent mostly indoors.
I've been up since 5:30 a.m. waiting for it to be 6 so I could go out.
Runners, cyclists, rollerbladers, taking to the footpaths across Spain, which for weeks had been off limits, except for those out to buy food and medicine.
I was rollerblading with open arms through the streets because there weren't any cars. It was a feeling of freedom.
Going for a walk and playing sport had been banned to stop the coronavirus spreading in Spain, which is one of the worst affected countries in Europe. There have been more than 25,000 deaths and 216,000 cases. But authorities say the outbreak here is finally past its peak.
I think that it's very great to go out, so I decided to run today. And I feel like in a historical moment, like with everybody out like this. So I'm very happy about this, and I think that people are quite respecting the rules. So I think it's a very happy moment.
Last weekend, children under 14 were allowed out for an hour a day of supervised activity. Now adults and senior citizens can also go out at separate times in a bid to reduce overcrowding. Though it didn't work everywhere, with thousands out along Barcelona's promenade.
For me personally, it's incredible that I can finally go out after so long. It just seems a bit strange to me that there are these time shifts, because in the end there are so many people out at the same time in the same place.
Beaches, though, remain closed and crowds exercised under the watchful eyes of police. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez tweeted that allowing outdoor exercise was a new step in measures to ease the confinement, but called for people to be responsible because the virus is still here. The World Health Organization says countries should lift their lockdowns gradually and be ready to restore restrictions if infections rise. There are tough days still ahead for Spain. The lockdown has hammered its already faltering economy, and unemployment is expected to soar.
Ciao, ciao.
On this Saturday, though, people enjoyed the simple pleasures of being outdoors on a sunny spring day. Alexi O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
Let's go live to Marta Herrera, who's standing by for us in Madrid. And Marta, while all this has been going on, the Prime Minister has been speaking. What's he had to say?
Well, in first place, Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez was very pleased that he had the chance to give a small relief to all the Spaniards, allowing them to go out for 1 hour walk or for 1 hour of exercise. All ages were out today in the streets. And in second place, he announced a 16 billion euros fund for recovery for all the regions. He also said that from Monday, face masks will be mandatory. The use of a face mask will be mandatory in public transport. Now we are in phase 0. We are starting this de-escalation plan he announced last week. We are preparing to go to phase 1 towards the new normal.
All right, and so what follows on after that? So after phase 1, there's this kind of modulated de-escalation, isn't there?
Well, the next step is facing phase 1. It would start in May the 11th, where small businesses will reopen to the limit of 30% of their capacity, and bars and restaurants with terrace will be able to open to 30% of their capacity too. We will face then 15 days later, if everything is okay, monitoring the number of infections and the state of a healthcare system. 15 days later, we will go to phase 2, where bars, restaurants, theaters will be open at 50% of the capacity. And 15 days later, we will go to phase 3, where all big malls could open at 50% of the capacity. All this has to be done under the umbrella of the state of emergency lockdown. This state of emergency has been extended from 15 days to 15 days through the Spanish Congress with the voting of all the political parties. But what's the challenge that Pedro Sanchez is facing next week? He will present the next lockdown stage extension, but he's facing plenty of problems as as he has prompted huge criticism amongst other political parties, saying they won't support him anymore with any other lockdown extension because they're not happy of how he's managing this crisis.
That's Marta Herrera as Spain begins easing restrictions in phases. Thanks very much, Marta.